welcome to the 9642 podcast. This is your host, Mr. NumberNine.
And this is The Fool.
Your 96 best place to listen to...
For 10 years.
Yes, for our 10th season of our mostly up-to-date...
And unqualified. And unrequested.
Ramblings of the various issues in the world of sport.
Or something like that.
Hello, everyone. We are back to talk about football, the World Cup. In fact, we are in the business end of the tournament. We've just had this super exciting round of 16 after the group stage, and we're about to hit our quarterfinals. Some big upsets in the round of 16, some dramatic games. What was your favorite moment on the round of 16?
All round of 16. A lot of things. We were at the Spain-Switzerland game.
Nice.
That was nice. It was actually probably my more disappointing game that I watched, just because Switzerland was so poor, and I was just like, you may as well lost to us. If we were going to have Spain walk over someone, it could have been the football ferns. At least then the crowd would have been super excited, and it would have been fun. But no, my highlight of the tournament so far has still been Japan. They just so good, and just
absolutely
blistering form and everything. It's just crazy how good they're being, really.
My favorite game of the round of 16 was the Japan-Norway game as well. It was like, especially when it was 1-1 at the first half. It was an exciting back and forth game. But Hinata Miyazawa's winner, or not really winner, but third goal, which basically sealed the win. That was like a classic goal. It was so good.
Yeah, and she's now top scorer in the tournament with 5 goals, which is just crazy amount of goals.
I'm sure she's up there to be considered like Golden Ball winner of this tournament. So,
well, she pretty much is going to be. I don't think anybody else left in the tournament's close. I guess this game with Sweden will be close because forget her name, but the Swedish centre-back who's been scoring all their goals, or scored 3 goals or 4 goals, is the closest of the people left, I think. So could go that way, but I don't really see Japan losing.
Ditto here. So Japan plays Sweden, and I think I don't want to dismiss anyone's chances, but I think Japan are just too hot. Sweden are a team that are gutsy and they're going to be hard to beat, but I don't think the usual tactics will work. But Japan have looked smooth and a well-drilled machine all tournament.
Yeah, I think the thing here, it is interesting because it's sort of a clash of two different styles. Sweden have been making their way through with their, solid defense and aerial presence at corners and winning that way. Whilst Japan also been pretty good defensively, but it's about movement of the ball and pace and width and through balls. So it's sort of two very different styles. I think the difference is, for me, is Japan's shown that they have good tactical variance. They can adjust. They're flexible on how they're playing, and it's minute changes. And the game against Norway sort of showed that. Like that first half, they looked frustrated. They'd got a goal. They had a goal scored against them. They sort of couldn't really break Norway down, and then they made just very minute changes in the second half and came out and just ran the ball a little bit further before looking for passes and had 2 runners and things, or 3 runners that they could go, and Norway sort of had to commit to the runner, and that's when Japan started finding the space and they just cut through them. So it was interesting. They kept the same game plan, but just little minute adjustments, and it just made dividends. And I think that's the bigger difference there, and that's why Japan's going all the way, is that they just can adjust their game style.
I'm inclined to agree with you. I always think a team whose tactic is plan A, and then when things are going badly, it's not that they switch to plan B, they go plan A but better. And like Japan is one of those teams. Yeah,
exactly.
Because they know their identity, they know they only have to make minute changes to make a better version of plan A for that situation. Like, they don't give up on the philosophy. Now, the other game, we've got an afternoon game tomorrow as well. Spain versus the Netherlands at
Yeah.
1 p.m. Despite losing I think was it 4-1 to Japan?
Spain lost 4-0 to Japan.
4-0 to Japan, yeah.
Yeah.
They've been impressive for otherwise this tournament, playing really well.
I mean, even that Japan game, they had the run of the game. Like Japan only had like 30% of the ball, and
Yes.
Spain held the ball for great periods. Was sign of again of
So
Japan's good tactical things, but
yes,
Spain have looked very good, and they looked excellent against Switzerland.
yes. So
Yeah.
basically, we had Spain be playing Spain ball, which is doesn't matter what gender the players are and
Yeah.
where they are and what happens. They've got an identity,
Yep.
and they keep using that identity. So, but we know that the way you beat that tic-tac, Spain seemed to very much play that 2010s, 2012 men's team version
Yeah.
of tic-tac football, but the way you beat that is Mourinho ball with quick counter. So Japan seemed to have this variation of Mourinho and Klopp ball put together,
Yeah. Yeah.
in a sense, because they press hard and they don't mind if the opposition have the ball. The
Mm.
Netherlands have also played well, but I think the Spanish just have too much class for them. This is their
Yeah.
first quarterfinal. I think Spain. That they're my pick to win that game.
Yeah. I think
Yeah.
I'm inclined to agree. I do feel that Netherlands it's going to give them a very tough run. Like it's going to be
Yeah.
super close.
Yeah.
Because Netherlands, they've been playing really well. And they did hold the United States 1-1, though the United States, and I'm sure we can talk about that later, were extremely poor this World Cup. So, but
Yeah.
I mean, the Netherlands are showing plenty of class. They were the defeated finalists the last World Cup. I don't think they've had quite as good a run in between, but they do look like perhaps they're coming back right again as they get to the business end of
Yeah.
this tournament.
Spain versus Netherlands is always a tough game. Doesn't matter
Mm,
what gender. Those are two
doesn't
rival
matter when.
teams. Obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. There's a long history between these two countries.
Mm,
So there's a football rivalry on there as well, and there's also like strong relationships.
yeah.
Dutch football gets exported into Spain, blossoms into something else, and so there's a long footballing history between the two. So these games are always interesting. But like I agree, Spain I think are just gonna make it. Then on Saturday, the 7 p.m. game, we've got Australia versus France.
Ooh.
France have been great all tournament,
Yeah.
like just fantastic team. Um, I genuinely like watching them play. I can't imagine that they would lose in the quarters, but they're up against Australia. It's a home game for them. I think Australia, like Sam Kerr, came on
Yeah. I
to
think
a standing ovation.
I think Kerr's pretty much back to full fitness now.
She's gonna be difficult to
Mm,
if she starts and the crowd get behind them. They're gonna be
yeah.
difficult to beat.
Yes.
I'm gonna make a bold prediction here. If there's a quarterfinal upset, I think it's this game. I
Oh,
think
yeah.
Australia playing in Suncorp. That's Fortress Suncorp. We're familiar with it as League fans.
Yeah.
We know what it's like. So I can see Australia doing really well. I'm picking them to win that game.
I'd almost want to agree with you because it's going to be like the atmosphere in that stadium is going to be crazy. It's going to be full of Australian supporters willing them on and say, pretty sure Sam Kerr is back to pretty much full
Hmm.
fitness or as close to as need be. Um, so yeah, I see Australia throwing everything at this, but this France team has been so impressive that I don't want to call it against them. I don't think it's going to be as easy as someone might think, but yeah, I have to call France because it's France and they've been playing
Yeah,
so well. Like it's
I agree. But
too hard not to call them.
I think this is the only game where I can feel a upset.
Uh, I actually think the next game, the England Colombia game, could could be upset because the Colombian girls have been playing really well and they've got a lot to
I
prove. So,
I have been impressed by the Colombians.
mm,
They're the last remaining team from the CONMEBOL Confederation.
yeah.
Um, the, so they have a lot to prove. I agree with you. But I think the Lionesses are just very, very strong. Um, whilst I would not be surprised if Colombia won, I think I'm gonna pick England for this one.
Mm. I'm also going to pick England, but I just feel like this is another one that might. It's going to be very close, um, and and I think I actually might go to extra time. I think you say the Lionesses will just have a little bit too much, maybe in the tank,
Mm,
just to edge it out. Um, though they haven't been quite as impressive as I was expect. I mean, they've been good. Like I'm not trying to
yeah.
say like they're not,
I mean, I
but
don't like Colombia would be interesting because I
mm,
think they could put up a fight against
yeah,
Australia or France in the next round. I think England, I think I think are gonna lose to France if they were to face France in the final. And I think against
right.
Australia, like we know that Australian
Oh,
crowd is gonna give heaps
if
to England.
if Australia wins against France, Australia's making the final. Like
Oh, 100%.
there is no other. Doesn't matter who it is on the other side. Doesn't matter.
Yeah,
Like the crowd at the semi-final for them will be so crazy that it will just will them on. Yeah, that's gonna be in Sydney. Like there's just no way it doesn't. Australia doesn't win that one if they beat France. Um,
yeah,
I say, I think, and I think if France wins, actually, I think it's close between either England or Colombia and then France. Like, I think you're right. France probably has England, and they probably should have Colombia as well. But I think the same happens if Colombia go through and face France. That I sort of feel like the Australians will get behind Colombia as well, just being the underdog and
yeah,
being and
yeah,
this
yeah,
their story about how they're treated back in their home country as well, and all that they got to prove, and just everything around them sort of screams for being behind and supporting, and just willing them on. So, um, but as I say, I think it will
yeah.
be an England France semi final, and I actually think that will be decided on penalties if that goes to there. I think either any other combination is a game decided in regular time, one way or the other. But I think the England France one just is a stalemate.
Yeah, 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 absolutely. And but yeah, it's gonna be a great weekend of football. I cannot wait. Premiership obviously starting this week as well, so
Yeah,
we're gonna be absolutely inundated with round ball games all week. Um, Thrilled, absolutely gunning for it. And it's gonna be a great weekend.
it's going to be yeah, really good to say. It's like yeah, Premiership starting
Yeah,
as well, so that's always a good start. Got these quarterfinals to play. Um, yeah, it's a great weekend
yeah,
of football. It's been a great couple of weeks of football, really, with the World Cup.
yeah. I think so too. I think with this tournament, it's shown how far women's football has come, where
Mm,
these teams, these top-seeded teams like your Canadas, your Brazils, and the USA, of course,
yeah,
everybody else has caught up to them. Everybody's um, gotten up to the level. Like Japan's always been good at women's football, but
mm,
every team has slowly cut around the world. Women's football's growing, which is great, and we're seeing more and more interest and more development. I think if countries where you you are not traditionally seeing as much funding for football, like Jamaica, uh, they realize you get so much extra bang for your buck if you're investing in women's football now. You get
yeah,
this
yeah,
position to come ahead, and while the game is growing, and it's still like there's still margins to gain. Um,
yeah. I,
the
I think it's the big thing as well. Like USA has been so dominant for the last decade, really.
Yes,
Um, they won the previous two World Cups, and they were well touted of winning this one. The fact they've gone out is just Amazing. I
Yeah.
mean, it is the number 3 side, Sweden, but Sweden hasn't looked like the number 3 side at this World Cup either. Um, but
Yes.
I say, Germany was out, they were the number 2, they went out of group stage. Canada's out, they were number 7. Brazil was out, I think they were number 6. Like, that's group stage, there's 3 of the top 10 out. You know,
Yeah.
4 of them are out by the
And
time you get to the end of the round of 16. Well, more because Norway was out. Oh no, Norway was 11th. But yeah,
yeah.
it's just um,
And like even on a personal level, like I closely followed the Manchester United women's team last
mm,
season. They came so close to winning the WSL. Obviously, Chelsea were just too good in the end, but
yeah,
they came second to Chelsea, and then they went to the final in the Women's FA Cup against Chelsea and lost that as well. But yeah, the first time. For the first time ever, they beat the Manchester City women's team, which is like a huge watershed moment for like women's football at Manchester United, especially like because we've had this team for years, especially when like women's football was banned in England. Manchester United still had a women's team that still played. And then like in the 2010s, they disbanded it. Very controversially, the fans have been, pushing for them to get it back, and then
right,
they
yeah,
eventually did it. 5 years ago, they decided to join the 21st century and have a women's team, so we're no longer ashamed to show our faces. And it's I've been sort of following the team back when Casey Stone took over as the manager. Um, and they've made slow progress. I mean, I don't think the Glaziers fully believe in the women's team as a project, but I think
right,
they're great, and they've the academy's brought in so many good women's players, and the proof is in the pudding. Like all that work, and we've come. Like I think Chelsea are still they're the Chelsea women's football are the Manchester City of women's football
yeah, yeah.
in England. Unfortunately, they've won the last five, I believe.
1, 2, 3,
But I think
4. Last 5,
four.
and then Arsenal won, then Chelsea won the 2
Yeah.
before those.
So I
Yeah,
think though Manchester United will push them close next season again, and I think even Arsenal and Manchester City are gonna be competitive with Chelsea next season. So
yeah.
I know it's not yet started, but watch the WSL. It's a fun league,
Mm,
and I think there's gonna be drama to come next season. But
yeah.
of course, Chelsea will still win. Like I'm not.
Yeah, so I haven't really started watching as much as I probably should. But I had kept abreast of the sort of news and stuff of it coming out. And but yeah, it does seem like a very, very
Yeah.
competitive league, very interesting league, very skillful league as well. And I do notice that they get good crowds along, and you
Mm,
get if you pay attention to the news, you get you know it's not a sideline concept. It's
yeah.
headlines. It's main
At
stories are coming
Chelsea,
out of this. Yeah,
Chelsea and Manchester City do it properly. The
yeah,
teams are funded properly, and they do incredible thing. They're putting an incredible product on the field. Like Manchester United, like the galling thing was the women's team was playing in front of 40K a week before they were disbanded. Like for a women's team, that's an incredible crowd, especially
yeah,
when you
yeah,
think about that era in
yeah.
like the early 2000s. Um,
Yeah, that's crazy, really. And just
and
disband that.
so
That's just yeah,
and so I think we've unfortunately United have I don't you can't blame this on the Glaziers because this was done before they took over. They just never did anything about it. But yeah, the team are paying for the sins of the past. Unfortunately,
mm,
but they're gonna have Champions League football next season. I mean, it can only get better from here.
yeah, yeah. Well, exactly. Once you start, it's the same as the EPL, right? Once if you get into the upper echelons and start getting that money in, if you get into Champions League football, you're getting high funding. Then the you can as long as you and obviously Manchester United are a club that know how to do this. You can use that funding to push yourselves along to bigger and better things. So
Absolutely, and the Point as another good point for women's sport is that we're gonna have the WIPL next year, which is officially now the
Yes.
second highest paid women's sports league in the world.
Oh,
So it's
nice.
overtaken the WNBA, so it's second only to the WSL, the English
Right.
Football League,
Yeah, yeah. Oh, that's
Women's
good.
Football
Yeah.
League. So they that's going to be a huge shot in the arm for women's cricket around the world. And as I said, I think both women's football, women's cricket, you get so much extra, and women's rugby as well. You get so
Yeah.
much extra bang for your buck when you invest in those sports.
Yeah.
Like in Mexico and Brazil, the women's players are getting paid more than the men's players, cricket-wise, that is,
Yeah.
because they just, you're able to attract so much extra talent, and for not that much extra investment for cricket. And in football, there's still all these opportunities. I mean, we've loved the football ferns for ages here in New
Yes.
Zealand, but I think I can imagine a day when Bangladesh has a great women's football team, India,
Mm.
all obviously like Bangladesh's women's cricket team has come leaps and bounds since our
Yeah, yeah.
last World Cup as well. Obviously New Zealand, the Black Ferns are really, really uh, the 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 Black Ferns are really, really good. But everyone, the women's cricket is also closing up. Women's football, the competition's closing up. This can only be good for like both sports. That
Exactly.
half the people on the planet are being involved in the product, not just
How could you ever
yeah,
think that was a bad idea? Like, it's like you're a whole half the people here. Hmm.
yeah. And it's like the Bluey effect, right?
Yeah.
Australians talk about the it's their stories. When they watch Bluey, they're like, oh, stuff that's interesting on TV just doesn't happen in America and the UK. It happens here in Australia as well.
Yeah, yeah.
When you watch, and like, women look at football player, watch people like Megan Rapinoe and, Hinata Miyazawa, back earlier generations, Marta, Mia Hamm,
Mm.
they're all, it gives them this aspirational figures, like they can be on the pitch. They don't just have to be on the sideline or make the spread at the end of the game, infamously. Uh, as every good rugby speech ends with, right?
Yeah, yeah. Now you can thank the lads in the kitchen instead of the ladies in the
The
kitchen.
lads in the kitchen,
Yeah.
absolutely.
But yeah, no, I think we mentioned, was it the at the beginning of this year with the last year wrap or the end of last year, about how last year was sort of a, a women's
A
year, a
watershed
women's,
moment, yeah.
yeah, for women's sport, and I think this year is really doubling down on that and just
Yeah,
showing that, because I was driving to work this morning and there was, ad on the radio about the Black Ferns playing. I think it's coming up in a couple of weeks' time, and that was the ad. It tacked on like, oh yeah, by the way, there's the Curtain Raiser is a NPC game, but it was very much the women's. The Black Ferns was the team that was the central bit, and that's the bit they're going to go play at, in Hamilton at FMCG Waikato, so which is a reasonable sized stadium. So it sounds like they'll get a good crowd there as well. And it's like not a World Cup, not anything, just the standard rugby matches. So, and they're also starting to get those, that's 15s match just as a standalone match, which is something,
yeah. And
go back 5 years and
event-
this wouldn't have happened.
yeah, I think eventually, if we should have a women's rugby championship for
Mm,
our Southern Hemisphere teams, maybe run concurrently with the men's. Maybe
yeah,
even a shared table. How cool would that be?
that would be
Like,
cool.
it just incentivizes both all the countries to invest in women's
Mm,
rugby. And I will. I'm not taking a dig because I think all our Southern Hemisphere countries do invest heavily
yeah,
in women's rugby and they're well developed. But if they're also competing for a shared trophy like best rugby country, like you have a combined table for men's and women's, that's just gonna intensify everything, right?
yeah, that would be quite
Um,
interesting. And at least the women's having a women's rugby championship, I don't think would be too far off. It would
yeah,
just be a
and
matter of organising it. But say all
I
four
I think
countries,
something I think something similar could be done in New Zealand with Super Smash
yeah,
T20s and even like the 100 because they're played together. Like the women's and men's are played concurrently, and the 100's been so huge for women's cricket, you could easily have like a shared table, like men's and women's result. That means every franchise is incentivized to, to make sure both their teams are good, instead of like having a crappy women's franchise or crappy men's franchise and a good women's franchise. They will equally develop. And people, your men sport fans will go see the women's one because their results are important to the final table.
Imagine doing that in the EPL as well. Yeah, expand the WSL. And that's
you just want Chelsea to win every year. That's.
Hey, if that's the way we get championships, I'm all in. The problem is the men's team would be dragging the women's team down.
That is true. The Man City would win. Yeah, that's just what would happen.
Unfortunately,
you want Manchester City to win more.
Actually, you make a good point. Maybe we shouldn't combine. That way, Chelsea women keep winning stuff. Maybe I didn't think that far enough through.
Yes. Think harder.
Think harder. Oh, yeah, that's right. Just means City's going to win more. Damn.
Because realistically, I think that's last year is like a watershed moment for Manchester United. They're not really as good as City, I don't think.
Yeah.
Squad-wise. But we'll see. It's a new year, a new season. Everything will come, and it's going to be a great weekend of everything round ball. Obviously, there's some great rugby league as well.
Oh, yes.
Coming up. Go the Waz. Up the Waz.
The Waz down in Hamilton this week, right? Against the Tigers. Saturday night.
Down in Hamilton. I'm sure there's going to be a big Waikato crowd to go watch the games. And the Waz, look, this is the time when the Waz are at the top end of the table and we're about to qualify for playoffs. Then that is when everybody in New Zealand becomes a bandwagon Waz. Well, look, the bandwagon's empty. We've got heaps of space. Everyone jump in.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Let's go. Let's go. This is the way to be a Warriors fan. They're winning, you jump on the bandwagon. When they're losing, you're still on the bandwagon, but you're on the losing bandwagon.
Yes. Oh, yeah. So before the season starts, every person in New Zealand's like, the Warriors gonna win this year. Of course.
So, yeah.
100%. And then no. People
Rebuilding
get off the bandwagon slowly, and then they've made it back. 2011 is the classic year, right?
Yeah,
because they kept going up and down the table.
Yes. There was plenty of people jumping on and off that bandwagon. May as well have had a revolving door.
Oh, yeah.
Some sort of escalator system, I don't know.
Absolutely. But it promises to be a great weekend. I hope all of you stay safe. Enjoy yourselves, whatever code of football or other sport you may enjoy. But that's all from us here. Thanks very much for listening, and look forward to hearing from you next time.
See you next time.
Well, that is the end. Thanks for listening all the way through.
If you liked what you heard, we have even more. Find 642 Discord and a Buy Me a Coffee.
Pretty sure it's Buy Me a Beer.
Oh yeah, buy me a beer on buymeacoffee.com.
In both these places, you can talk to us, and we may even listen, especially if you do buy a said beer or coffee. I might still be confused.
Yes, we're easily bribed. All links are in the show notes below.
Don't forget to like and subscribe.
This is on YouTube.